Good afternoon. May I have everyone's attention, please? The ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats and silence your cell phone. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin momentarily. Please ensure your cell phones and electronic devices are silenced. Thank you. Please stand for the arrival of the official party. You may take your seats. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Major General Paula Lodi, Commanding General, U.S. Army Medical Research and Development Command, Director, Research and Development, Defense Health Agency, Deputy Assistant Director, Research and Engineering, Defense Health Agency, and Senior Commander, Fort Detrick, and Captain Maya Williams, Portfolio Manager, Military Infectious Disease Portfolio. Welcome to today's retirement ceremony for Colonel Christian C. Hofer, following 38 years of honorable service to the Armed Forces of the United States and our great nation. Welcome family, colleagues, and friends of Colonel Hofer. I am Lieutenant Colonel Stacy Bateman, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for today's celebration. We would like to take a moment to extend a special welcome to Colonel Hofer's family. To his wife, Dr. Jennifer Hofer, to his mom, Sherry Hofer, watching virtually from Florida, to his son, Jacob Rosenblum, his aunt, Kate Benashiki, traveled from Connecticut, to his cousin, Allison Taylor, with husband Will, and daughters Amelia and Zoe, traveled from Massachusetts, to his in-laws, Ed and Phyllis Ely, traveled from Florida today, to Jacob's mother, Jennifer Rosenblum, and her husband, Jeremy Slusher, along with Jacob's brothers, Jonas and Judah, traveled from Florida. Jen's brothers, Matthew Ely and wife Rachel, their son, Reed Ely, and Michael Ely, and his wife, Morgan, traveled from Florida. We also extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests, Major General and presiding official for today's ceremony, Major General Paula Lodi, Command Sergeant Major Curtis Conklin, BG Evelyn Yao, who is attending virtually due to schedule change, and Sergeant Major retired Todd Landis. We are gathered this afternoon to witness the final stage in a rewarding and distinguished military career. Colonel Hofer's many years of dedicated service have made the Navy, the Army, the Veterinary Corps, and the Army Medical Department a stronger and more capable force in our never-ending fight for peace during these challenging times. Just as this is the end of one phase in his career, it is also the beginning of another. So our gathering today gives us the opportunity to wish him success in the future as he looks forward to new challenges and rewards. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem sung by Staff Sergeant Lauren Pechev.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. As today's presiding official, Major General Lodi will now present her remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. So now, Sean, I know where I have to come to see all the R&E people I haven't seen in like the last 3 months. But seriously, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today to celebrate Christian Hofer's retirement. Christian, thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of being able to preside over this ceremony. It's especially meaningful because in some circles, I am known as the patron saint of the Vet Corps. Where's Master Sergeant Cosling? Right? You know. But here we are to celebrate 38 years of service and send you off into your well-deserved retirement. But before we dive into Colonel Hofer's incredible career journey, Jen, you see where I'm going with this. I do want to recognize, and you know, I won't go through all the family that's virtually and in presence here. Traveled from far. For those of you who traveled from New England south, you're welcome. For the no snow, for those of you who traveled north from Florida, I'm sorry. It is cold here. But thank you all for traveling. And even if you're taking time out of your busy schedule to be dialed in virtually, they say that the American soldier fights not because they hate what is in front of them, but because they love what is behind them. And in preparing for today, it became evident to me that there is no shortage of love and support and encouragement behind Christian Hofer and his illustrious career. At the center of it all is his wife, Jen. I was told you are known as the smart Dr. Hofer, a veterinarian in her own right, specializing in oncology. So Jen, thank you very much for all you've done to support Christian and get him to this day. But at the beginning of it all, joining us virtually from Florida is Colonel Hofer's mom, Miss Sherry Hofer. Sherry, thank you for raising a son who was prone to dedicate his life to service. I am the mother of 2 Army soldiers, and I am very proud of them, and I can only imagine what pride today brings you. So thank you for allowing us to benefit from the upbringing, the raising, and the character of your son. Colonel Hofer's son, Jacob, thank you for being here. Unsung heroes, our children are. They get zero say in the life we choose for ourselves and the career that we love and the impact that it has on our most immediate family. So thank you for all that you've sacrificed and contributed towards your dad's service. 2 special guests. I do want to also recognize Brigadier General Yao attending virtually. We certainly understand schedule changes, and I do apologize that we were running a few minutes late here ourselves. And Command Sergeant Major retired Todd Landis, who's here, a longtime colleague of Colonel Hofer's from the 7th Special Forces Group. And so, again, we're going to help gauge the influence that you've had across your career because you've brought together the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and the non-commissioned officer corps so brilliantly, DHA could take a lesson or two from you. But all that love and support is embodied by those who are here in person, those who traveled, and likely scores of others who could not be here. And I'm sure, Christian, that is what propelled your 38-year career. You see, Colonel Hofer's father was in the Navy. He was a Navy veteran who suggested when you were in college that you perhaps should join the Navy. And Christian hoped to become a cook. I guess vet not far from cook, right? Maybe, I don't know. But the recruiter had other plans, asking what you knew about nuclear power. And so began your career as a nuclear power machinist's mate. And in this capacity, you deployed twice to the Persian Gulf aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, including in support of the Battle of Mogadishu. You later became an instructor of nuclear propulsion prototypes before transitioning to the Navy Reserves, reclassifying as an intelligence specialist and attending the University of Florida. In 2001, Christian commissioned into the Army Reserves and attended veterinary school. And upon graduation in 2005, he began his career as an Army veterinarian with the 7th Special Forces Group, deploying twice to Afghanistan. So lots of service, lots of sacrifice, lots of commitment and courage. Sergeant Major Landis, who served alongside Colonel Hofer, described him as a visionary, innovative, and grounded in sound medicine. Notably, Colonel Hofer is one of the few Army veterinarians, I did not know this, to have participated in combat operations with Special Forces, even manning a crew-served machine gun. Is that true? There's like beer. There's beer and alcohol in the back that will fuel that story in about an hour. But following your time with the 7th Special Forces Group, he continued making an impact as command veterinarian at the Joint Special Operations Medical Training Center at Fort Bragg, and he provided critical support for working animals and developed training materials that are probably still being used to this day. After his residency in laboratory animal medicine at the Ohio State, he joined the Medical Research and Development Command, holding several key positions where he made significant contributions to military medicine. And while at the U.S. Army Research Institute of Infectious Disease, he developed countermeasures to protect troops from disease and biowarfare. And folks, part of the reason why Sergeant Major and I are late today is because we were dialed into classified briefings and keeping our team level set on classified information needed to do the very thing that Christian dedicated part of his career to, which is protecting our troops' time now to biothreats and biowarfare. At the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, he ensured the ethical treatment of research animals and stood up the Animal Research Compliance Office. And as one of the offices that immediately and most profoundly struck me in my own tenure in this command as something I never thought I would have to know about, animal research protections. I'm very grateful for experts who can keep people straight in the ethical use of our animals in research. Most recently, Colonel Hofer led the Military Infectious Disease Research Program, driving advancements that improved patient recovery, reduced lost duty days, and lowered mortality rates. His legacy will be felt for generations in the people and the organizations that his long, varied, and distinguished career has touched. Colonel Hofer, on behalf of our organization, the United States Army, the Joint Force, and the military community, thank you for your extraordinary service. Although all this variety led to some very questionable sports allegiances, I understand in your retirement, you're going to spend some time cheering for the Green Bay Packers and Florida Gators. But you are now free to pursue your lifelong dream of being a cook. As long as Jen approves. And she's shaking her head no. Yeah. But I do know, because I had to sign the paperwork to send you down to Florida, that you've spent the last few months working towards your actual goal of operating a scuba dive business in Tampa. So I'll just say, Christian, you've spent an entire military career under pressure, mostly from high stress situations, and now you get to voluntarily put yourself underwater. And I hope that you find more solvency in your future path than maybe in the portfolio's path. You are trading your boots for flip-flops and fins. You're leaving military animals, human and non-human, to go hang out with some slightly larger, wetter, and maybe less obedient marine life. You're trading regulations for a regulator. I know, I did my homework here, right? And I understand it's called a C card, right? Your certification card, you're trading in your CAC card for your C card, right? But as you descend into your new career as a dive instructor, really, thank you. Christian and Jen, thank you sincerely for the honor and privilege of being able to preside over today's ceremony. It's truly humbling to have served with you and for you on behalf of the United States Army, Army Medicine. And I guess as a distinguished honor graduate of the Naval War College, I guess I can wish you fair winds and following seas. Ladies and gentlemen, when I got here, Christian said, I said, how's this going to go? We didn't really have time to do a rehearsal. And he said, if it's all right with you, ma'am, we could just skip all of this and go straight to the bar. So without further ado, I think we should retire you.
Colonel Hofer, please join Major General Lodi at the center. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will begin our presentations. Colonel Hofer will now receive the Legion of Merit Award. Please rise for the presentation of the Legion of Merit Award and remain standing for the reading of the retirement orders. Attention to orders. For exceptionally meritorious service spanning over 32 years while serving in various positions of increased responsibility, culminating as the Director of the Military Infectious Diseases Research Program and Portfolio Manager for the Defense Health Agency Research and Engineering Directorate. Colonel Hofer's accomplishments were characterized by the highest standards of leadership and his extraordinary contribution to the development of critical medical products. His exemplary performance of duty is in keeping with the highest traditions of military service, reflecting great credit upon him, the United States Army Medical Research and Development Command, the United States Army Futures and Concepts Command, and the United States Army.
Nope, he's over here.
He's over there.
Thank you.
After 38 years of service, Major General Lodi will now retire Colonel Hofer. Attention to orders. Colonel Christian Carlisle Hofer, the people of the United States express their thanks and gratitude to your faithful service. Your contributions to the defense of the United States of America are greatly appreciated. You are released from active duty and on 1 May 2026, placed on the retirement list. Colonel Hofer will now receive his certificate of retirement and lapel pin from the Secretary of the Army.
Still over there.
It's still over there, yeah. Thank you.
Please be seated. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer's wife, Dr. Jennifer Hofer, with a certificate of appreciation from the Department of the Army. Dr. Jennifer Hofer, please come forward to receive multiple awards.
Right here. You look so.
Major General Lodi will now present Dr. Jennifer Hofer with a certificate of appreciation from the United States Army Medical Research and Development Command and Fort Detrick.
I don't think that's what that.
Oh, Lastly, by order of the Surgeon General, Lieutenant General Mary K. Izaguri, Dr. Jennifer Hofer is granted and assigned the distinction of Honorary Member of the United States Army Medical Department Regiment.
Just what you.
This appointment recognizes significant contributions to regimental continuity, tradition, and a spirited corps. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer's son, Jacob Rosenblum, with a certificate of appreciation from the Department of the Army. Jacob, please come forward.
No.
Jacob, you may return to your seat.
Yes.
Really, Dad?
Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer with the Presidential Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate of appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Colonel Christian C. Hofer, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of our grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. I trust that in the coming years, you will maintain an active interest in the armed forces and the purpose for which you serve. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief. Colonel Hofer has also received congratulatory letters from former President William J. Clinton and the Governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. These have been previously received and will not be presented today. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer with a letter from the Secretary of War. The letter reads, "Congratulations and thank you for your 38 years of dedicated military service to our great nation. On behalf of all of us at the Department of War, I extend my sincere appreciation for your patriotic service and all your sacrifices over the years. You have served our country honorably, personifying the values that guide our democracy while defending our homeland, protecting our people, and preserving our way of life. Your contributions have not only made the Army better, but they have also made an enormous difference in the lives of countless soldiers and their family. My wife, Jen, and I wish you the best of luck as you begin this exciting new chapter of your life. May God continue to bless you and your family." Signed, Pete Hegseth. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer with a 4-star letter of congratulations from the United States Army, thanking him and his family for their many years of dedicated service to our nation. Signed, Michael R. Weimer, Sergeant Major of the Army. Randy A. George, General, United States Army Chief of Staff. Dan Driscoll, Secretary of the Army. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer with a 3-star letter and a certificate of distinction as Distinguished Member of the United States Army Medical Department Regiment from the Army Surgeon General, Lieutenant General Mary K. Izaguri. Major General Lodi will now present Colonel Hofer with her 2-star letter, Commanding General, Medical Research and Development Command, and Fort Detrick. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the presentation of gifts and comments. Captain Williams will now present Colonel Hofer with a flag that was flown over Fort Detrick on the 22nd day of February 2026 with accompanying certificate. The date commemorates Colonel Hofer's day of enlistment in the United States Navy. On behalf of the Military Infectious Disease Portfolio, past and present, we present to you this plaque that represents your cumulative Navy and Army service. Thank you for providing steady leadership during a time of transition and change from MIDRIP to MID and from MRDC to DHA. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present Colonel Christian C. Hofer, United States Army, retired. Colonel Hofer will now present his family with gifts as a token of his appreciation for their love and support during his 38 years of military service and share his remarks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm mic'd and I'm hot, right? You can all hear me. Not just him. I have been preparing for this day for a very long time, and prepared for this day multiple times over my career. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But first of all, thank you, General Lodi, for serving to be the officiating officer and for everything that you've done in the time that we worked together. And I know that you do have, I know that within the AMED, veterinarians are loved a lot. I love my veterinary colleagues out there. I see us on Facebook. Senior medical leaders across the Army are always talking about how much you do. And I know that we have, you know, common friends. I will tell you, ma'am, that everything that Brian learned about roasting a pig, I taught him. So you're welcome on that. Sergeant Major Conklin, as I said, welcome to the command. Thanks for being here today. Truly appreciate you coming into this role. Sorry that I'm not going to be here to work with you as well, but you've got a great team at MID and across the labs that I know will do good things for you. Maya, Captain Williams, thanks for taking over. Thanks for taking the helm and driving the ship in through the fog sometimes. But I know that the MID team is in in great hands, and I'm looking forward to hearing occasionally the the exploits of what we do in the future. Todd, thanks for coming all the way from where are you now, Colorado? Yes, you move a lot too, and cannot tell you how much your mentorship, friendship has meant to me in the 20 years that we've known each other. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Dr. Biggerstaff, thank you for joining us as well. Looking forward to, again, hearing the great things that DHA, R&E, or whatever you end up calling yourself in the next iteration happens. I'm going to get to the family a little bit later. I'm going to tell a story, and General Lodi kind of told a little bit about it, but I'm going to tell it my way because that's the only way I know how to do it. So I apologize for any repetitions. I was a not so great student when it came to high school. And I think a lot of people, especially that end up in the military, we kind of are like that. We struggle in high school, whether it's because we're, not focused, or, we've got a little bit of, back in the 80s, we didn't know it was ADHD, whatever, but, we didn't really dedicate the effort to go to school. And so I did one semester of college in graduated in 87. So the fall semester 87 into the new year in 88, one semester of college at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I failed miserably. I mean, it was a disaster. And New Year's Day, my father and I were talking, and we were at my uncle's house having a family New Year's Day party. He had read in the newspaper, for those that are too young, that newspapers used to come out daily or weekly, and people actually used to read them and cut things out of them. He had read in the newspaper that the USS Wisconsin battleship was being recommissioned, and they were having this ploy to recruit people from Wisconsin to be plank owners on the Wisconsin. My dad had served in the Navy. He's like, join the Navy, go be a cook. Everybody loves to cook. You'll make rank quickly. Do 2 years active, then 6 years reserve. Get your GI Bill. Get some discipline under yourself, and that's what the plan was. So I immediately called the recruiter the next business day, and I said, "Hey, I want to be a cook on the USS Wisconsin." I'm like, "Great." And I took the ASVAB, and they're like, "You're not going to be a cook." And he gave me this other test, and he's like, I passed that test by one friggin' question. He's like, "What do you know about nuclear power?" And I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "How's a $5,270 signing bonus sound?" And that was the price of Christian Hofer's soul in 1988. So I signed that contract, that new contract, which committed me to 6 years active, 2 years reserves. And if you know anything about new contracts, they're harder to get out of than just about anything. Once you're a nuke, nukes need not apply. I'm there, get EODs there, SEALs are there trying to recruit people. I'm like, I want to do that, which I could have done that when I was 19. I don't think I could do any of that anymore, but they're like, "Are you a nuke?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, we can't even talk to you. So I went off and joined the Navy. And I found that I wasn't a bad student. I just wasn't approaching it in the right way, and so I excelled in nuclear power training. Crushed it. Became a staff instructor first, pickup. Went on the Lincoln, did some incredible stuff on the Lincoln. Saw some things. Went through some very weird times. That was the time when we had the first females on Navy combatant ships. Was when I was on the Lincoln, which was a really challenging time because we had a bunch of old salts that were not as accommodating as we would hope that people would be. And they also said we couldn't smoke in our barracks anymore, which pissed me off because I smoked like a chimney back then. Saw some very bad things. I loved what I did in the Navy as a nuke. It was academically challenging. It was physical. We were fighting fires. We were building things, fixing things. What's funny is I absolutely hated being out at sea, which is ironic because now that's all I want to do. But it's a different lifestyle when you're enlisted E6 and below on an aircraft carrier compared to being on my dive boat or wherever in the Bahamas. So that's why I came off active duty after 11 years. I said my only option as a surface nuke was to go back to an aircraft carrier, and I was like, I'm not doing this. But I didn't want to throw it away. I didn't want to throw those 11 years away, so I reclassified. There's no nuke reserve jobs, and so I reclassified as intelligence specialist, and I did that. And I was like, okay, this is kind of fun too. This is neat. I was doing the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year type thing, working through the undergrad, and like I said, we'll get to family, but I'm getting ready to go to my engineering statics class because I'm like, obviously I'm going to become an engineer because I did all this nuke stuff and I'm super smart. So I'm like, I'm going to be some kind of an engineer. And so my ex-wife, Jen, also Jen, is I came home, I went to the first day of engineering statics class and the guy's up there on the chalkboard, and it really was a chalkboard back then. And he's like, by the end of the course, I'm going to teach you how to determine the vector forces on this beam, on this bridge, and blah, 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 blah. And I sat there to myself and I'm like, I don't care about the vector forces of the beam on this bridge. And because I had aspirations a little bit when I was growing up in semi-rural Wisconsin to be a veterinarian. And so I went home to my wife then, now ex-wife, and I said, hey, like, I want to go to vet school. And she's like, cool. So I was in drop ed. I went and dropped all those engineering classes, picked up my pre-vet school. And again, I'm still thinking I'm just going to rock out this reserves. I'm going to go be a veterinarian. I'm going to go have fun times. I get into vet school, first year of vet school, or first week of vet school. My colleagues in the audience will know exactly who I'm talking about. This old crusty Colonel Gary Brogandew, he gets up on stage and says, look at all the cool things you could do as a veterinarian in the Army. And I was like, what? There's veterinarians in the Army? And I'm like, that is very cool. So I immediately called the Army medical recruiter the next day. And I said, hey, sign me up. So then I started to do the math and I'm like, okay, I got this much time in. I know I need to be at least 10 years commissioned. So I'm like, that's where I went and got my healthcare administrator, picked up my reserve commission in the Army. So that cut me out of the Navy reserves, picked that up because I'm like, I got to start that 10-year clock because I'm not doing this forever. Right. And I'm like, so if I get my reserve time or I get my commission in 2002 or whatever it was, then I can retire in 2012 and I'll be done and I'll be going off and doing fun things. And here we are today. I went and did my lab animal residency because they promoted me to major. That's the problem with the military. And I mean, it's obviously not a problem, but it's how they keep us, right? Is they just keep promoting you. So I got promoted to major and I'm like, well, now I can't go anywhere. So I was going to do my residency. I was going to kick and scream. I knew I'd have to come back to the center of the universe after the residency and do at least one of the labs. But I'm like, I'm going to make such a noise that they want to get rid of me. And I'm going to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and take that job because at the time, Jen was working there or had worked there. And that was next retirement plan. So somewhere in that 2016, I'm like, I'm going to retire, as a major out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Nope, they promoted me to lieutenant colonel. I'm like, well, now I got to get another job. So went to, that was at Rare. And then I'm like, okay, I got to get another job. So then I got to go back to special operations community. And I took the command veterinarian job down at SOCOM in Tampa. And anybody that knows anything about SOCOM, you go to SOCOM to retire. So I was going to SOCOM to retire out of Tampa as a lieutenant colonel. I was like, this is great. I made it a little bit more, I got so many years now. and they friggin' promoted me again. And now I'm like, well, obviously I'm not going to give up 06 retirement, so I got to get a job. And so I reached out to Stu Tyner back there. I said, I know I need to come back to the homeland and come back to the DC area. And I'm like, what do you think about me doing the midrip director job? And he's like, I think that'd be great. And so, and I see Dr. Dirtsbaugh here, thank you. Between the two of them, they got me in, and I've had to just blast absolutely working with the team at midrip, mid, DHA, MRDC. You know, we've had, I keep telling it, this is our third patch in like 2 months. We did that again in like 20 when we did the AMED to AMC to
AFC.
yeah. It's like, come on, make up your mind. But I tell that story because what I think my biggest thing when I talk to younger people or people that will listen to me more, you guys have to listen to me, but you know, people that will listen to me for more than a few minutes is, it is about, I'm here because of opportunity. I'm here because of opportunities that were given to me. I'm here because of opportunities that I didn't say no to, that I took. Then I just kept my options open. I said, you know what? I don't really know anything about that, but I'm going to go give it my best effort. And I think that's the most important thing to do when you're in this world, especially the way things are changing in the military, is you have to be really open to opportunities and be able to just grow within those opportunities and make the best for yourself, but others around you, right? And you know, I've been fortunate. I don't know a lot of people, but I have worked with people that they're just constantly unhappy with what they're doing and where they are. And it's bad for them, it's bad for their team, it's bad for the mission, it's bad for everything. And so, you know, what my little bit of word of wisdom is, you know, be open to the opportunity, even if you don't know anything about it. I always used to joke as well. The nice thing about the military is, if you hate a place, you're only there for maximum 2-3 years. You can probably get out in 2. The flip side of that is, if you really love a place, you're only going to be there for 3 years, and maybe you could eke out a 4th. So it's that flip coin, but that gives you that opportunity to meet new people, to learn new things, to learn new skills. I have learned so much that I didn't even really want to know about. And when I took this job, about like the acquisition side, the resource management side, the budgets, the R sheets. What is it? R sheets. I mean, you know, I thought being at SOCOM was a little crazy. This is a different level of crazy some days, where we're you know, hair on fire. But you know, the team at mid, across the DHA, STMP, Science Technology Portfolio Management Division, we've had a lot of name changes in the 2.5-3 years that I've been. So it's not my fault. I am old, but I mean, we don't really know who we are, which is fine. We still come to work and put on a uniform, maybe a different patch today than we had on yesterday, but we do the job. And again, that's really the team that has helped me to learn all these new things. Next little point is the other thing that I love about the military in general is, and I see many of you out there, is the friendships. I think that, and it likely has to do more about the fact that we are in these positions together, where it kind of sucks and sometimes, but we're in it together, and so we're going to get through it together. Like when I was in the Navy and we were on watch, I would stand watch with somebody for 2 weeks. You know, every day we're on watch for 5 hours together, and in 2 weeks, I knew more about that person than I did my closest friend that I grew up with my entire life. We would sit there and we'd, tell stories. We'd, play games together. We'd, did you see this movie? What's your favorite color? Blah, 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 blah. And you just, because you're thrown into there. And that builds those lasting friendships and builds those networks, like where, Brian was one of my technicians back at the JSOMTC, and now he knows General Lodi. And I know that there are many other people that, if I had planned for this thing, what I really wanted to do was kind of put up my life on a wall and then ask you all to go put your intersections in that to see where you guys probably have intersected with many people that you may or may not even know that you knew before. But I'm sorry, I ran out of time. Like I ran out of time writing my remarks, which obviously I'm not reading anything. So, it's those friendships, that network. I am on Facebook. I do like Facebook. And one of the things I like most about Facebook is it keeps some of those connections available. And then it pries open and sees those other connections where you're like, oh, I didn't know that Mike's story knew, and everybody knows Mike's story, right? He's another AMED rising star officer that loves his veterinarians, and like every time a veterinarian posts, Mike's making a comment about it, and vice versa. And so it's really cool to see that connection and that brotherhood, that fellowship amongst us. And it's not that civilian life doesn't offer that. I just think it's a different type and it's a different pace at which you develop those relationships. So thank you to all my friends that are here online. Unfortunately, no longer with us. And then, so let's talk family and get over this. I see Elizabeth is ready to start serving us some drinks. She's mixing drinks back there for us. Okay. I'm going to start with the J's. And I call them the J's because all their names are J. So my ex-wife, Jennifer Rosenblum, Jacob's mother, is here with her family. Jeremy, Judah, and Jonas is over there with the dog. There's a lot of, when we talk about, oh, she's my ex-wife, this, there's generally a little bit of, huh? What's going on? And I will tell you that there was a little bit of that in the beginning. Things were not always great in the very beginning of, right after the divorce, when Jen and I got together, there was some friction. But to be honest, we always said that we were never going to put our nonsense in the way of Jacob's life and making sure that Jacob is good. And that's really where it started. And so we were able to kind of just put that normal, how can you be friends with your ex behind us? And now we're all way more than just, nice friends. We're truly family. Jeremy and I started going to M3 Rock Festival down here in Merriweather 2010. I don't remember. Been many times. But he's like, hey, you want to go to this? And it's if you don't know what M3 is, it's hair metal from the 80s, Cinderella, Poison, because Jeremy's likes hair metal. He dreams of being a rock star. He is a rock star, but dreams of being an 80s rock star again. And so, over the years, we've really just kind of grown that relationship. And what I will tell you is, I want to thank you, Jennifer, and the whole family from the absolute bottom of my heart for everything that you've done for my mom. Mom, you're there. I see your list. I know you're watching on TV. Mom's had some health struggles recently, and we had moved her down to Florida, and then ultimately needed to get her into an assisted living facility. But I was still up here, and we collectively, the family, we decided that we would move them close to Jennifer and their family so that they would help to take care of her. And they've been doing that for years now. And I don't know what we would have done without that. It would have been completely different. So thank you, all of you. And Herb and Shelley are back there too. Herb and Shelley are Jeremy's parents. They've become family as well, and he's also my accountant. And so we will talk business later, so that this entire thing is then tax deductible, right? And you'll be here to witness that. So thank you. And now my new in-laws, Ed and Phyllis Ely, you have welcomed me into your life, and I have really come to love you and the whole family. And I'm so glad that you have raised such an amazing daughter and some amazing sons as well. That one of them is here. Unfortunately, Matthew could not make it, but thank you so much. And Matthew, Morgan, Reed, or Michael, Morgan, and Reed, thank you so much for coming. Michael and Morgan are going to sing for us and play some music for us a little later. And then my Aunt Kate from Connecticut, and my cousin Allison and her family, Will, Zoe, and Amelia. Thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to me that you have been to pretty much all of these things for me, and that support and love is so precious to me. Jacob, I am so proud of you, and we have had our struggles, we have had troubles, but I want to just to thank you so much for growing with me as you as a son, me as a father, as we've come to figure out how to navigate this relationship that's been not necessarily completely weird, but you know, there's a lot of separation. I wasn't there for a lot of things. And I'm sorry to have missed so many things. But the man that you have become and are becoming, I am just so immensely proud of you. Please stop playing rugby though, okay? Because you keep breaking your knee. Okay? Okay. All right. I'm actually doing all right, I think. Huh? but I'm not that kind of vet. Word got around that she was doing that, and LSU contacted her and said, "Hey, do you want a job at LSU?" And she was like, "I don't know." Then Minnesota was like, "Well, no, you should come work for Minnesota." And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know." And then UF was like, "No, you need to come back to UF." So she is taking a faculty position at the University of Florida, officially starting in July, which again, we don't own a house in Gainesville. We own a house in Fort Pierce. And if you don't know Florida that well, it's not commutable. So she's actually going to work there for 3 weeks on Monday, and so she'll be buying a house in Gainesville, so that we have a place to live, and we'll just, I don't know what we'll do with the condo. But I'll say one more thing about my wife, because it's important to her, it's important to me. So I'm proud of her for her academic and professional expertise. But I'm more proud of her for what she's done for herself and what she's doing for other veterinarians. So many of you might know, especially the veterinarians in the room, know that suicide in veterinarians is exceptionally high. It's a pretty tough job for many reasons, but it's a very high rate of suicide for veterinarians. Jen was working in a practice, we won't say where, that was just an absolute toxic shithole. And she came home every day miserable, crying. And of course, I'm like, well, did you do this? Did you do that? This, tell them to do this. I'm trying to fix everything, right? I got it to a point eventually where I was doing a better job of listening. But she got into a very dark place. And it happened to be right about the time of COVID. And we knew we were moving. So she quit that job and she started taking care of herself. She went and saw people. And I can say this out loud because she tells other people as well. She takes the meds. It makes her better. She's in a better place. And now, so she's doing that for herself, but she's also talking to young veterinarians that when she's trying to mentor them to talk about this thing, because again, it is a problem. We think that we're going into this profession that, it certainly wasn't me, but a lot of our peers, they go to veterinary medicine because they want to save, everybody's bunny and kitten and rabbit and do all these good things. And I'm not saying that I don't want to do good things, but I'm not that kind of vet. And there's so much more darkness to the job for so many reasons. And it sucks literally the life out of some of our friends. I know others in this room, colleagues, we all know at least, one person or more, unfortunately, that have taken their life as because of the despair that they were in their position. And so I'm super proud of you for taking on that and taking care of yourself and being there for me and all of the family and then all of the other vets in the world and everybody. I mean, it's not just vets, but so I will end it there. If I missed somebody, I apologize. I see some great friends that came from Massachusetts, North Carolina. Thank you all. Thanks to the mid team, the DHA team. Matt, it's March 27th now, not February 27th. Yeah. Got to give you a hard time. Huh? Yeah. So Colonel Scheer had his wires crossed, and it's only funny because Regina and Stacy were here just happened to be here the same day that Matt showed up for my retirement ceremony on February 27th. He walks in and he's like, "So where's the party?" And they're like, "Colonel Scheer, it's next month." But thank you all so much. I'll do the admin stuff now because I don't know if they're getting close. So a couple things. I made a joke about how it's tax deductible. You'll see a bunch of things. We're going to put out some business flyers. Jen and I have a business called Best Life Dive Adventures. We started it a few years ago. We take people on dive trips, and I'm a scuba diver instructor now. I went down to the Keys and became a NAUI instructor and got some additional certifications down there. We've got some company swag to give out. Everybody loves stickers, magnets, and stuff. So we'll be putting that out. The other thing is, again, I think all of us in the military, we do this for service. We serve others. We serve, our nation. We serve our families. We serve each other. I put some flyers out. Jen and I, in honor of my retirement, we've selected 6 of our favorite charities. If you're so inclined, I've put those charities with their website, a byline, and a Venmo code that we will match. And I said it's at least $1,000. So if I'm feeling generous and drink too much, and you guys, are very generous as well, we may match $1,500. But we will match at least the first $1,000 if you all feel so inclined to make any donation to those organizations. We will have cake here shortly. Mission Barbecue is getting ready to set up. And then I have Elizabeth and Hannah in the back with their exceptional barbacks. Clint and Jeff will be taking care of you in the beverage lane. So they've got the ability to make some cocktails. We got beer, wine, water, you name it, we probably have it. And sodas. So with that, I will leave you with, my last mid-6 out.
Went to sleep. Thank you, Colonel Hofer. We do have a few more events before we get to food and drinks, but Captain Maya Williams will now recite.
In honor of his service to both the Army and the Navy, soon Colonel For 38 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us went our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this soldier stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this soldier stood the watch. In those years, when the clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this soldier stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for 38 years so that our families, our fellow countrymen, and we could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that this soldier stood the watch. Today, we are here to say, Colonel Hofer, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have guided, trained, and led. Colonel Christian Hofer, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Ladies and gentlemen.